quick, 2 minutes.
Can you want to get the shots? She doesn't know exactly where she is, so once you're happy with the shots, then we want to do it back. We're going to do it now, is what I'm saying. Yeah, get up and down now, and then...
Today is about launching the National Knife Crime Centre. It's on the back of a review I did for the Home Secretary published last year. One of the recommendations, amongst many, was better coordination between law enforcement, industry, social media to try and curb the online, particularly online, but not exclusively, supply of knives, particularly those who are selling illegally across social media channels and the internet. So selling prohibited knives, internationally even, kids are still getting hold of prohibited knives or weapons that would certainly be unlawful in the streets. So the centre is about coordinating that, building and working with the government on the future recommendations, things like licensing and registration, which are hugely important for the future, and bringing it all together. And we've already had results to date on enforcement taking illegal sellers off the market, closing their content down, and 30 arrested, 12 charged, 2 convicted. So we've already started the work. Today is about formally launching, saying we're here, and this is what we're doing moving forward. There could have been. We try and sort of delineate between those who carry knives because they feel vulnerable and they see other peers carry knives, so that's one aspect. You've got other people who carry them for criminal intent, otherwise they're protecting drug commodities, or they're intending using them for violence. So the centre, for example, is trying to limit that, and by tackling things, and we've got knives here on display, some of the knives that we often seize through enforcement, some of which are not illegal to own in your home, others which are prohibited and shouldn't be owned in the home or on the street. So, we are trying to, the social media aspect of it, these are platforms that are not there designed to sell, but that's where criminals are using the platforms to sell. Plus you have websites where age verification is not sufficient, where they're not telling us, because they don't have to, people are buying 500 knives, for example. That is changing. That's in the draft Policing Crime Bill. That's great. That will change next year. But other things that we need to do, we'll need to work on moving forward. But we are seizing knives all the time, and it's important for policing to recognise the difference between a prohibited weapon and what isn't, because it's not easy to tell. And we've got teams that are going out to forces, which is something developed in the Met actually, but trying to raise the expertise of officers so they understand the difference between prohibited and not, because it matters when you apply the legislation. These knives here actually, so this knife here is not illegal to buy or own. It's illegal to have in the street, clearly, but not illegal to buy. And when you look at something perhaps that is, so this here is banned because of the length of the serrations. There is an anomaly here, and you can understand the public thinking, I don't understand why one is banned and one isn't. To be clear, using them in the street is illegal. Having them at home, one of them is illegal to own it at home and we'll seize it, one of them isn't. The law is changing as part of the Policing Crime Bill, that if you've got a knife like this, which isn't illegal to own, but if we think you're going to use this knife for violence, serious violence, we will seize it. That's going to be in the new law. But this actually is a folding knife, but it's not illegal because it's not spring-loaded and lockable. Bizarre as it sounds, that is not illegal to buy. This here, these are readily available on mainstream sites, but this ordinarily is not prohibited, but this bit makes it prohibited, this bit here, which if you think about it is used to injure. So these are readily available to buy in quantities on mainstream websites.
Absolutely, we should welcome it from both hands because this is so important in order to make sure that our children who are online and buying this type of weapons don't buy this type of weapons, and also they don't go into the wrong hands.
Yeah, it's really important that we know what's out there. I mean, we've been exposed to a whole new world that we weren't exposed to before in the most tragic circumstances, and we don't want more parents to be having to sit here where we are today. So by taking preventative measures like this, I believe, you know, it's going to make a difference, and I'm really, really pleased to have it open.
It is always bittersweet moments for me. I will always be the loser mother. You know, we lost a beautiful son through no fault of us and our family. But I will always remember that why he existed. He was such a beautiful child, and we must make sure that no other child lose their life like he did.
As a family,
Having Ronan's Law is beyond, you know, important. First of all, getting that ninja sword banned took us a very long time. It was 2 years of relentless campaigning, and you know, you would think it's something just so straightforward, but it wasn't. So to have that, and not just to have Ronan's Law, but to have stricter age verification, to have the bulk sales being reported, to have this knife crime centre to actually monitor the work going into Ronan's Law is incredible stuff, and it's, you know, it's testament to all the people involved. It's not, you know, not just us, Command Claimant, the Home Office, all the other campaigns and everybody. We've pulled together to ensure that this stuff doesn't keep happening. So
And
really,
it does take time, but I would tell you what, we are fighting for the licensing system for the retailers, and it's so important to us because, like you said, there are still availability of other bladed articles, and we must assure that these bladed articles are not available to any 16 years old, and by getting the retailers to take the responsibility of licensing system, we hope that they do their jobs properly. And I tell you what, one thing, then good retailers will make sure it's done properly.
and also
I think it's actually sad, obviously, that some young people will be feeling like that, because obviously, you know, today in the launch we saw a lot of the things they're exposed to on social media, and it can be really scary to look at. However, we can only tell them that you're just, you know, you're making the problem a lot worse for yourself. You're bringing not just yourself, your families into it, and you know, you're not protecting yourself because you could very easily become the victim of that knife, the very knife that you're carrying. And I also think parents need to be more involved, because they need to understand why their children are feeling fearful and what can they do to help the issue as well. You know, we can't just keep blaming young people and saying, you know, why they're doing this, why they're doing that. Let's look at, you know, the wider scale of the problem. Let's look at schools. Let's look at the organisations that are surrounding our children, you know, that are supposed to be keeping them safe. You know, how can we, as campaigners, how can we actually support young people and make sure that they don't do these things?
The thing is, how I say it in a simple words, we trusted them, we used them. Why don't they take responsibility for themselves as well? Why don't they come forward to support our children, our people who are using their platform? There is a responsibility we have to shed on other people as well. It is, I'm not saying that there should be laws again to support this, and Nikita, and we know that. But I also want, there is responsibility needs to be shared by everyone, every adult, to protect the future of these children. And I believe that there is, if they begin with doing that, would that not happen already without making a law?
Yeah, social media platforms, like my mum said, really need to take more responsibility for what is being shown to kids out there, and I think, you know, by putting blockers in place so that kids can't be exposed to certain types of things will be obviously really important, because a lot of the time issues are escalated over social media, and children, like you said, we're in a time right now, there's the Easter holidays, the summer holidays are coming up, kids are going to be bored.
Yeah.
Where are they going to flock to? Social media. And more time, whatever they see, you know, social media, they take as gospel. So we need to ensure that they're not being exposed to really horrible content with knives and, you know, violent content. So yeah.
So the launch of the National Knife Crime Centre today is a major milestone in our push to halve knife crime within 10 years. This centre, funded by government, £1.7 million, will investigate, bring together information, particularly about the very pernicious online sale of knives, where we see people, increasingly young people, buying knives and selling them in a marketplace that should be completely illegal. So this new centre will help to tackle that problem. It's just one part of our very substantial campaign to tackle knife crime, and we'll be launching the action plan, setting out all that detail next week.
The legislation.
So you can't tackle knife crime with one change alone, you have to use a suite of powers. We are putting into legislation new powers to tackle the online sale of knives. So to make sure there is a two-stage age verification. If you're going to buy a knife, you've got to be the right age to do so. To tackle what we're calling the grey market, where people are buying hundreds of knives sometimes and then selling them on in a personal business. So we are putting a duty on the online companies to tell us when these bulk purchases are made so that we can investigate, and also putting more duties on those companies to remove illegal content, and there are sanctions both on the companies and on the individual executives if they do not do so. This will make a big difference. Where we need to go further, we certainly will, but this is a really good starting point and is really done as a result of campaigning from Ronan Kander's family. Ronan, who sadly was murdered, his family have been pushing and pushing and pushing for this change to the law, which we're really pleased to be introducing.
Many young people that may not have a criminal motivation, they feel that they need to be protected from bullying or peers or older people, and they feel that that's the only option. What can we do to make young people who don't have a criminal motivation feel protected and not feel that they have to take a knife to school or to be able to walk through their own neighbourhood?
So the Knife Crime Action Plan that we're launching next week is going to bring in the Department of Education, the Ministry of Justice, the Home Office, DCMS, all the different agencies to tackle what is quite a broad problem. If you are online as a young boy, it is quite likely you will see violence and you will see people holding knives, you might see the sale of knives, people purchasing knives, you might be offered knives, and that will make you scared. We need to tackle that online problem, and we are introducing legislation to do that, but we also need to work with our young people to make them understand what they need to do and how they need to respond where they see this kind of thing, and help them understand that actually if you hold a knife, if you carry a knife, you're much more likely to be injured. So there's a whole raft of interventions that we need to do, including talking to our kids in schools.
It's the Easter holidays, and we had lots of young people running amok, frankly, in Clapham this week. Not enough youth clubs, not enough things for children to do. They're off school. It's exciting for young people when, again, they might not have a criminal motivation. And if they think that all their friends are all going to run into Clapham, maybe they're going to join in. What can be done today? The people of Clapham were certainly very scared.
Well, look, I was disgusted by what I saw. I think everybody will be, and we need to put the full force of the law against those people who are breaking the law, and we will be clear about that, and I'm clear about that as the policing minister. Of course it's right that we need to also think about what are our young people doing, what are their motivations, and how are we making sure they are kept active, kept busy, and this government is introducing a whole new raft of youth clubs across the country, which will give people more things to do, but it's more than that. It's teaching people what's right, what's wrong, what the law is, what needs to be done, and tackling also this scourge of online crime, but also the showing young people all the time repeatedly images of criminality and violence. That can't be right either. We need to work with the social media companies to make sure we stop that too.
I know that...
Sorry, that's the last question. We
Okay.
really are out of time.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
that's fine. That's fine.
We've
Thanks.
just got to do a quick digital clip of the mirror and then we need to go and start.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.